Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the Swimrun Show podcast. This week's guest is a veteran triathlon athlete and swim runner, of course. He's been competing in triathlon since the 80s and swim run since 2016, with lots of races under his belt across Europe. He's travelled across Europe racing a lot. In fact, he's fresh from Portugal, racing on Sunday in the Swimrun Portugal series down on the Algarve, which we'll hear about. He did pretty well there. He's just really enthusiastic about the sport. He encourages others into it. He even organises a swim run race for his tri club, which is brilliant to see. He's been doing that since maybe 2017, so a good few years. And it just comes across. He loves the sport and wants more people to enjoy it. So here we go, Mike Lisle. Okay, we have Mike Lisle here from Mersey Triathlon Club. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm very well, thanks, Mike. Two Mikes here, so I might get confusion, but I'm very well.
Good man. So you've just hot off the press. You've just returned from Portugal, haven't you, from a swim run?
Yes, I fancy doing a swim run early in the year. So I've got a few aquathons coming up, and I always think swim run is really good training for aquathons and triathlons. So I saw this one in Portugal. It's on the Algarve. It's the second in the series, the Portuguese ones. So I've just got back yesterday from Portugal. The race was on Sunday, and it was along the Algarve coast. Obviously, sea swimming and some really rocky running up and down all the time. So I was pleasantly surprised with how it did, and it was a relatively tough race. I did the sprint as usual, but it was tough enough.
Okay, how did you get on then?
Well, I won. It was just quite a small field. I won. You don't often get age group sort of prizes in swim run, but I was first over 60. There's only a small number of us in it, but I got the over 60 sort of.
Nice, first over 60.
And I was pleasantly surprised because as the race went on, my swimming's stronger than my running, so the few people who were catching me in the run, I was managing to overtake them on the swim, and there's a 1K swim, quite a tough swim along these cliffs, and the water's getting quite choppy and colder, and I did quite well in a long swim. I overtook a few people, so I was pleased with my performance.
Brilliant. That is one of the great things about swim run, that you can. Your swim's not over, a triathlon. Mike's will talk about it. He's done a lot of triathlons over the years, but you often hear from the good swimmers in triathlon, once you've done your good swim, that's it then. You're overtaken quite a bit, potentially. Whereas swim run, it's nip and tuck, isn't it? And yeah.
It is. That's one of the great things about it. Yeah, I do sort of triathlon and aquathon, just one swim, one run. And after the swim, I do relatively well at my age group. But then I'm looking over my shoulder all the time on the bike or the run, waiting for people to catch me. But in the swim run, I can take them again if there's another tough swim coming up.
Yeah. So no Mike for a while now, and we'll have a little chat. You're obviously a veteran of triathlon and aquathlon, and we'll just have a little talk about the triathlon stuff. But just when did you start swim running, Mike?
I'm trying to think of the year. It was possibly it's obviously before lockdown. I guess the first one I did, the first one I did was the Lamberis. The race in North Wales, and it was Andy Doran, a friend of mine, sort of suggested doing one. I think he'd done a small one somewhere else before, so we teamed up, and we actually had wetsuits specially made for it, which helped. And Lamberis is relatively tough because I think you did it, Mike. Actually, first one I did, you were there with Paul Skipper.
Yeah.
And it was quite hilly running, and the last swim, I felt as if my arms were dropping off. It was such a relief just to finish. So that was a tough intro. So since then, I've done quite a few. I've done them with Andy, and also with Sam Howard as a partner, and I've really enjoyed them. I'm sure you'll agree that the important thing, if you're going to do a pairs race, is to find someone who has similar ability to yourself. both those people are a similar standard swimming to me. They're both better runners than me, but they're relatively kind. So it's more fun doing pairs ones. But recently, I travel a lot and I just look out for races. I've done quite a few solo races, which I've enjoyed as well. But the pairs ones, in some ways, just as a little added factor.
Yeah, they're definitely more fun. And okay, so that I've forgotten about. Yeah, that was 2016, I think.
That'd be about right. Yeah.
And then did you do Costa Brava?
I did, yeah. Me and Annie did Costa Brava and Jersey. Close up. That was a tough race, Jersey, because sea was quite rough around Jersey.
Yeah.
I prefer sea swimming to lake swimming. I train a lot in the sea, and I know a lot of people don't like the sea for various reasons, but I quite like sea swimming.
Yeah.
For the extra buoyancy, I think helps me, and I always feel as if I'm struggling, some of the perhaps the weaker swimmers we find it even more difficult. But I'd never take anything lightly, because even Sunday's race, you look at it and it looks as if it's going to be really pleasantly warm and calm waters. It got a bit choppy, and the temperature was colder than I thought. So I did. It's important to wear the proper gear. It really is.
Yeah. What
sure
did
you
you
want to talk about equipment at some stage?
Yeah.
It was very important.
What wetsuit did you go for on Sunday?
Well, I went for I started off. I had a snug. Me and Andy Doran had snug specially made. I think it was in very early days. We were some of the first ones to ask them to make special shorty swimrun wetsuits, and they were very good, but they're slightly thick for running. They're great for swimming, but I thought they were a bit thick for running. So I bought a Hoob one about 4 years ago, and I like it because it's slightly thinner and it's better for running in. There were sleeves on it, sort of additional sleeves, but I found they were very hard to keep on. So the one I took on Sunday was my shorty Hoob, and I practiced in it a couple of days before, and thought, wow, this water's cold. Water where we were staying was probably under 14, about 14, 15 degrees perhaps, but it was cold. But doing the Ortillo races, brought a red up, and they recommend wearing a merino wool vest underneath the wetsuit, and that has been a real game changer. I swim at Formby in the sea all winter, and I wear the merino wool and next to the neoprene vest and my wetsuit, gloves, etc. So I wore the merino wool vest on Sunday in the race, and I just find it's a real keeps your core really warm. Okay. It got a little bit sweaty on the run. There's one long run, about 5.5K up and down the cliffs. But generally, I think it's really important to stay warm in Portugal.
Yeah. Okay. So was it colder than expected then in Portugal?
Yes.
In the water?
Yeah. Apparently, I was talking to the guy who organised it, and they said Portugal have had quite a miserable cold spring. So water temperatures were, because it was advertised at 18. I thought, 18, that's lovely that. But I think it's about 15. And the big sort of sting in the tail was, as we got near where the finish was, I think it's my wife who sort of suggested it's the mouth of the estuary. And I was like, it got colder as you're swimming. The last sort of 20 minutes got colder and colder, and just the tide was coming out. And it was the river water was obviously colder than the sea water, so it was noticeably colder that last little bit, and was a real sort of sting in the tail.
Yeah, that is, But I guess was the air temperature
reasonable? Air temperature was pleasant because there's a bit of sunshine. It was low 20s, so it was quite ideal, really. It was not too sunny, but it was ideal sort of temperatures for running in.
Good stuff. Well done. First in over 60, and
they don't often have that. I was going to say that's one of the advantages, or one of the good things in a way with swim run, is because I'm so competitive in age group triathlon or aquathon, and you can get quite sort of nervous or quite serious about it. But swim run, I go into swim runs because most of them are just open. I think, I'm just going to enjoy this. And that's been one of the great things about it, just getting back to the sheer enjoyment of doing it, not worrying so much what you place. I mean, I know at the top end, people are very, very competitive, but generally, I don't worry so much about swim runs as I do about triathlon. or aquathon.
Yeah, yeah. It's generally seems to have more of a fun kind of feel about it.
Yeah.
So triathlon. So how long have you been doing triathlon, Mike?
I did my first one in 1989
Ooh,
over in Scarborough. It's just a pool one. I did a few pool-based swims, and then I got interested. And in the old days, the early 90s, you had to really sort of travel to do decent triathlons and sort of open water triathlons. So I started doing races like Windsor and Bath, and I went
right.
all over sort of doing what was called Olympic distance or standard distance triathlon. I did one half Ironman, but that was enough for me. I quickly came back just doing standard distance and shorter distances.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. And you got into your aquathlons like more recently, or?
Well, I think the first aquathlon I did, I first qualified for the Great Britain team in the 90s in Sweden. The first World Championships I did was in Cancun 2002. And I
Oh,
just noticed a few days before this World Aquathlon Championship. And basically, if you're in a triathlon team, you should be going for the aquathon. I thought, well, that sounds like a good idea. Because it was 3 days before the triathlon. I guess rid of some of the pre-race nerves. It'd be a good warm-up. And in the hotter countries, like Mexico and Australia places, it's a run, swim, run format.
right. Yeah.
So it's 2.5K run, 1,000-meter swim, and another 2.5K run. So, because obviously there's no wetsuit involved, you just got to take your shoes off, hat on, and then back in. So I did that, and that's how I got into it. And I thought, oh, I like this, because the swimming element is slightly bigger in triathlon. Being a good swimmer can give you a higher place than regular triathlon. So I gone through that, and I've done a few in this country, and now it's a standalone sort of sport in the World Championships and European Championships. So the last few years I've sort of been looking at that, and I probably enjoy them more than triathlon. You don't have to take your bike, so it's not the hassle of packing the bike away. And I'm relatively more successful in aquathon than I am in triathlon.
Yeah. Cool. So that was good. Mexico started in Mexico. That's good. So yeah. Okay. And you've been to, I think you've done the age group world champs and European champs a few times, haven't you?
I've done them many times actually
Yeah.
since Mexico. I sort of got the bug, and I've qualified most years for one of the championships. Obviously, it depends where it is. I'm quite lucky. I've travelled a lot, so Australia and China and Mexico, America, and all over Europe. So we always combine it with a holiday. People always laugh when you say, "Where are you going this year on holiday?" So and so. And the next thing is there a race involved? It's just sort of like a coincidence that we go somewhere where there's a race. But yeah, I've been very lucky to keep it going.
Yeah. Good stuff. And so onto swimrun. So you also organise quite a long-standing swimrun race up in Crosby there, just north of Liverpool.
I do, yeah. I mean, Crosby's where I live, and Crosby Lakeside, or Crosby Marina, local people call it. We train there. I prefer training the sea now at Formby, but I still swim at Crosby, and every year, every July, when the water's relatively warm, I organise a swim run, a pair swim run for our club, and we'll get about 20 pairs. Some have done before, some novices get a bit of a shock. Fortunately, so the water is relatively warm, so you can just about get away with doing it without a shorty wetsuit. But it's good fun. It's very short.
Yeah.
But the staff there are good. They provide the safety cover, which is, as you know, as a race organiser, is very, very important. We're a bit compromised because the lake is being used by other water users, people sailing and kayakers. So we can only use a certain part of the lake. But it's a good, fun event. And it's a good introduction. And there's a lot of people who've never worked in a pair before in a race. And it's just interesting to see how the dynamics of how that works.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's brilliant. So that's been going, was it 2016 or 17? Or
Yeah, I reckon we've done about 5 or 6. Obviously, during lockdown, we missed a couple, but we've had about 5. But I reckon 5 or 6. I'd organised aquathons before because the lakeside does sort of lend itself to that format because you get fantastic prom for running down, and actually organised a an aquathon for the World Championships when it was back in London, 2010 or 11.
Right.
And did a qualifier there. So aquathons or swim runs are relatively not easy to organise, but you haven't got the bike element and the road to worry about.
Yeah.
So, and of course, you've got to have, as in getting volunteers is a big thing. Getting good staff on board is really very important.
Yeah, I think it's great what you've done up there, and it's a bit like the French model that a lot of the tri clubs in France, organise swim runs, and it's great. Mersey Tri are organising, a small swim run to get people started.
Yeah,
because triathlon seems like a kind of a good way in, I suppose, to the sport. So yeah.
I wish more people would do some of the smaller events. I think some people think they need to do big branded events or stick to triathlon, whereas some of the fun events are some of the smaller club events.
Yeah, definitely. So I've seemed to remember when I've raced on the starting line with you and Andy. You don't like using the tow system, is that right? From memory?
No, it's interesting. Talking about kit and equipment, I was thinking about this a lot at the weekend. Yeah, the sprint race I did at the weekend, it was all solo.
Mm-hmm.
In the longer distance, there was a longer distance race, but there's only about 5 pairs, so I didn't see much of them. Me and Andy have tried the towing system, but Andy's about 15 stone and about 6'5", 6", but he's a big guy, and trying to tow him, I found absolutely really, really difficult. So we practiced in Crosby Marine a few times, but I said, "Oh, Andy, this is tough." So because we're very similar ability, and I say when I raced with Sam Howard as well with similar ability, we're quite confident that we weren't going to, lose each other. So we didn't bother with the towing. But
yeah.
the funny thing is, when I've raced with Andy about 4 or 5 times, and he said once, we've never done a race where you haven't ended up swearing at someone. And the main part of that was people who were towing sometimes became almost side to side. You'd end up swimming through a gap and you'd end up swimming into some rope,
Yeah.
and it get really, really annoying. So my mantra, my aim in later races was, finish the race, enjoy it, and don't swear at anyone. So that's what I've tried to do. But honestly, I don't think we've ever done a race where you haven't sworn at someone.
Right. Yeah. So there's a couple of things there. It is a good point actually with when you are similar swim speeds and you've trained together. Andy staying on your feet or Sam staying on your feet, and you're confident with that. That's cool, and that makes transition probably a bit quicker. And I think even it's widely used, the towing system, but occasionally it suits even the top teams not to use it because of if it's a short swim or they just decide it's quicker. And
do you still use them, Mike, when you race?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Unless it's I make a decision based on all things on the day, distances, blah blah blah. But yeah, 100%. Apart from for example, the world champs with Paul Skipper. Paul's swimming's gone ahead of mine now, and we generally used it. Apart from the last probably few swims on that course are short, less than 300 meters or something like that. So it is definitely quicker just to leg it in together as much as you can leg it in on the and swim relatively close and then out. And it gives an element of freedom as well, I suppose. But on the longer swims, anything above 400 meters, definitely use it. And I do. And when I'm swimming with my sister Helen, who's a better runner than me, but a swimmer, not quite. It works really well for that kind of setup.
I can see quite often if you can see someone who's an obvious strong swimmer and the partner is a weaker swimmer. I can see that working.
Yeah. Did you? So going on the kit there, but it is the. I know Max and Hugo occasionally the world champs do consider sometimes not using it on the shorter stuff. I know the low tide boys are using like kind of invisible mental towing system to go to that next level. So it's good. It's just another tool, isn't it? I suppose in the toolbox. But on the kit, do you use hand paddles and the pull buoy? Wait,
no, that's interesting. I use a pull buoy. I love a pull buoy because I've always had got heavy legs and big hips, and I find even in the pool swim or anything, I'm much faster with a pull buoy. So I'm happy with the pull buoy. And I also I've got sort of calf, neoprene sort of like flotation calf. I forget the name.
The calf guards.
Yeah, I think they're really good. The ones I've got, they really keep my legs really nice and high. But I don't use paddles. Mm-hmm. I'm very rare using paddles. So I was hoping to discuss it with you. I train with them in the pool over shorter distances, but I actually find I take them off, I go faster without the paddles. I know it feels strange at first because your hands feel tiny, but I think I was talking to the guy who organised last Sunday's race, and he knew about the Liverpool race.
Oh, cool.
When I mentioned, he said, "Oh, where are you from in England?" I said, "I'm from Liverpool." So, "Oh, you have a race in the docks coming up?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Yes, I know Mike who organises it." So, and I had a bit of a chat with him about paddles, and I think I've got quite a high cadence,
right?
And I just feel freer without the paddles. And I don't think, I'm a fairly good swimmer, but I've never tried to use them over a long distance. I know most people use them, and it works for most people. But I do think it's a mistake that some people new to a sport look at others, just get all the gear and think, I've got to have that, I've got to have that, I've got to have that. I think you've got to use what suits you. And that comes with experience, the same with pull buoy, where you have the pull buoy and run all that stuff, and sort of it's a bit trial and error, but you need to train with stuff and work out what's going to work. And last Sunday I was really chuffed that my pull buoy just stayed on my thigh. Sometimes I strap it just around like a number belt for triathlon, but everything worked on Sunday, whereas sometimes you end up carrying your pull buoy. But the thought of carrying paddles and all the rope and everything I'd find it hard. But that's me. But I think everyone's different, and you've got to work it out for yourself what suits you.
Yeah, no, I think it's brilliant to have you on, actually, because it's quite different to most guys I've talked to, but the same in the fact that you've got to do what works for you.
Yeah.
And with high cadence, and you like that swimming style, you're happy. With paddles, it's really, you can't do a high cadence, really, can you?
No, I find even in the pool, I find I'm forcing it too much, and if you get it wrong, you get it wrong.
Yeah, so it's good. It's kind of a stripped back style that's been tried and tested by yourself, and it works. So that's cool. And obviously, when you're racing solo, the toe system's irrelevant. And for me, the paddles are. There's a lot of people that rave about all the different types, and the pull buoy is more important for me, for sure.
Oh yeah.
The paddles are worth it generally, but I wouldn't. I'd always look at the swim distances and possibly number of transitions and type of transition. If it's really technical, get in, get out, with really short swims, or say for SwimRun Liverpool, for example, which it's not technical get out, but it's up a ramp. Paddles, I'm 50-50 if I was taking part, which I do hope to do a couple of laps. I'm not sure at this point whether I'm going to use paddles. So yeah, it again demonstrates to everyone the kind of individual choice and trying it out. And just like with your Mersey Tri swim run, kind of the intro race that you organise, those kind of things are great, aren't they, for people just to have a go of whatever kit they've got and have a go.
Yeah, I mean, it's I use a pull buoy a lot in pool training, And it's surprising how people don't like pull boys, but for me, it's second nature to have a pull boy. I don't kick. My kick's always been really poor, so for the swim run format doesn't bother me at all. As long as I've got a pull boy and my calf, the neoprene calf guards in.
Yeah, yeah. So, what do you think? How do you see the future of swim? You've been in triathlon since 1989, so a good period of time there, and that's developed massively, hasn't it? I mean, the '89 triathlon was a very small sport, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How do you see swim run developing?
Well, hopefully swim run will continue to grow. I mean, I think triathlon numbers are down. Triathlon numbers, entries for races are down now, and seems to be fewer races around. Hopefully, swim run will continue to grow. I mean, one of the most difficult things is venues. I know you use a lot of venues in Wales, and you've sort of looked out for all the best places to swim. Coastal races are always going to be difficult. Sea races are always going to have problems for various reasons. Obviously, the safety factor and the weather factor. But hopefully it'll continue to grow, and he's got to spread the word how enjoyable. There's still some people who are quite bemused when he's trying to explain the format. What do you do with these shoes, and the fact that it is continuous thing, and how possible it is. It just becomes second nature. Once you're doing it, like anything, it just becomes second nature. Yeah. Actually, last Sunday the races, the exits and entries weren't bad at all. Generally, you're coming out onto beaches. It's when you're coming out onto rocks, Costa Brava or somewhere. Lanzarote, me and Andy raced, and some of the coming out places were really, really good.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you've done Cannes as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fantastic race. You did the long one. I did.
You were there. Yeah, 2022, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I've done Cannes 2 or 3 times. I really enjoyed it. That's a fantastic finish on the prom there.
Yeah, yeah. I really enjoyed the bit over on the islands, and then it gets a bit weird running through the kind of the town.
Yes, yeah.
And then you go up a big hill into the jungle.
that is totally bizarre. That part, that Cannes race, where you go that disused railway track and then you wind your way down through the trees. I mean, it's just so strange. That.
Yeah, but a very, very cool race location for sure. Have you got any? So you've done Portugal. Any lined up?
This year, I'd like to do. Normally, I do a race. I've got some triathlon and aquathon sort of championship events lined up. But towards the end of the year, I did Cannes. I've done Cannes 3 times in October, and last year I did Côte d'Azur.
Oh yes.
Swim Côte d'Azur, and that's a fantastic race, Mike. You'd love that. I hadn't been too well last year, so I did the experience race, a really short one, but it was really well organised. It's a beautiful part of the world. You run on all the really sort of expensive sort of properties, like Cap Ferrat and Boulia, but it's a beautiful race to do that. And if anything, that's as good a race I've ever done.
Wow!
And the organisation's super. All the the food and drink afterwards, and the atmosphere was excellent. So I'll look at October for a late season race just to before I can't do any more.
Yeah, keep going. And how old are you, Mike? If you don't mind me asking.
I was 70 last month.
No, 70. Well done. Yeah. Well done.
So I'm thinking, my time with competing at a decent level. I'm doing now. I was the oldest one there last Sunday, but the good thing about triathlon, obviously, in aquathon is it's a new age group. So I'm the youngster in the age group. Yeah. But for swim run in the open races, it's when you're giving someone 40 years or 50 years, 40 years or whatever, it's a lot.
Yeah, but you're still there. Yeah. And did you say you did Lanzarote? What was that like? I've always looked at the Canaries. And
I did that with Andy. It wasn't technically tough. The water's nice and warm. I said some of the entries and exits were a bit rocky, and I think it was a very warm day. But that was a good event. that was an interesting event. I presume they do it every year.
Yeah, I think there's one on Tenerife as well. There's definitely a couple at least over on the Canaries.
Yeah,
And
and
they suit.
This Portugal series, they've already done one up the next estuary up just south of Lisle.
Troya.
Yeah, that looked nice. It looks like a lot of sand running. I know that area from years ago from a holiday, and it's that looks a good race. I think the last one of their seasons in Madeira,
Yeah,
as well, the Portugal one. But
yeah,
so the guy who organised it was a really nice guy, and he did a special sort of the briefing, obviously in Portuguese, but he did a special English one for me. There's only me and one or two other English speakers. There's a couple of Swedes there and a South African guy, so he did one
that's
especially
good.
for us in England.
That's
But,
good.
he seemed to be very knowledgeable about the whole swimrun scene, and I say he knew your race was coming up.
Yeah, there seems to be the Portugal swim run series seems like it looks great, and it looks like they're really trying to build and grow the sport, even with small numbers. It looks
Yeah,
brilliant.
the numbers. When I signed up, there's only about a dozen in
Right.
the sprint race. I was getting a bit worried because with smaller numbers, the one thing swimming in the sea, you like to have a few people around you, But
Yeah,
in the end, there's about 40 in the sprint. There wasn't so many in the long distance race, so at least there was enough to be able to
yeah,
see other people, because it can get quite lonely out there if you can't see any other hats or anything in front of you.
yeah,
And there was safety cover, but sometimes you think you're alone, and
yeah.
alone in the sea is not a great feeling. But it
No,
was okay.
good
But
stuff.
the hardest thing was last Sunday. There's a long swim, 1,000 meters, and a short run. And I knew where we were because me and my wife had done a bit of a recce the day before and been on the beach. And I thought, it's just a nice, easy swim into the last beach and just a run to the finish line around this castle. And I came in, I could see the beach, and I was hardly moving. It seemed the tide was just starting to go out. And it's that horrible feeling. I don't know if you've ever done the Mersey swim, but the last bit, the Mersey swim, it just feels like the tide's going. Well, it is going against you. And it was really, that last 100 meters just seemed to take ages, just to get in. So you can never relax until you're
Yeah,
over the line. And then the guy
yeah.
on the beach says, we've changed a bit. Instead of running around the castle, you've now got to swim around it. The water's too high, so we get to swim the last bit around the castle, which is
Oh,
good.
really?
You see the finish line. But it's never over till it's over.
No, no, that's right. That is another great thing about swim run is it can't the environment is so kind of laid out by the environment and nature
Yeah,
that
yeah.
things occasionally do change on the course. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I've done Anglesey a couple of times as well, actually. Did Anglesey with Andy and did Anglesey with Sam. Unfortunately, with Andy, the water was so rough, they had to cut out quite a bit of the swim, so we ended up doing a lot of running, which didn't suit me. But the second time I did it, I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah,
That's some good swimming.
yeah, that's a great spot. No longer taking place, and I don't think Costa Brava is still going either.
No.
No, so yeah. It's all done. I think there's a few training camps that go on in kind of Costa Brava. So yeah, I suppose it's one thing about swim run is it's kind of as it is still developing. There's a few races that have come and gone over the years, but hopefully most will stay now. It'll kind of stabilize. Obviously the pandemic hit it hard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's often it needs like an individual to drive it, Mike. Is like yourself, or I've organised races, and people sort of think you're going to do it forever, and it's hard work. It's hard work. It's a lot of responsibility. It's quite stressful. So after a while, something is you drop out, and you need someone to take your place. It's some people don't realise how hard it is. Actually, it's enjoyable when it all comes together. It's a really satisfying feeling. But you need individuals who've got a passion for the sport to do it.
yeah, Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, Mike, for being a great swim runner and encouraging others to do it, and organising the race up in Mersey Triathlon there.
Yeah, we'll have I'll set a date for July for our event, and fingers crossed for some decent weather. And good luck for you. It's a weekend Saturday, your race, isn't it?
Yeah, 18th of May. Yeah.
It's the day before. I'm sure it's the day before Southport
It's
Triathlon.
perfect. It's a perfect warm up, Mike. Perfect warm up.
If I was 20 years younger, I would, but I try to be a bit clever these days and not overdoing things. So I might take it easy, but that should be it'd be an interesting event, Mike.
Yeah.
And I look out for. I know you've got some more events in Wales, haven't you?
Yeah, 1st of June, Tallyclyn, which is lake-based, relatively short, 12k in total. And then Abu Dhabi, which is coastal, the Dhabi X swim run. That's 17k. And that's it for this year for now. Hoping to introduce an ultra swim run, a proper big daddy one next year.
I might give that one a miss. I'm always in awe of people who do long distance stuff, because even on Sunday, I mean, I was like 2 hours or so, but I said the long distance guys coming in have been up for 5 hours. Like, wow, it's it takes some doing. But yeah, it's really enjoyable, and we'll continue to spread the word.
Good man. Thank you, Mike, and
okay.
Best of luck.
And you, Mike, I'll see you somewhere in the world this season. Have you got any big plans for
myself? I'm trying to.
How did your TOC? You got the championship final.
Yeah, last September. It was brilliant, except we both managed to pick up injuries a few weeks beforehand.
Right.
Paul had like a tendon problem in his foot, which was brought about by trying some trainers that I'd suggested. And it didn't quite work. So that was a slight concern. And then a couple of days before, I strained my calf. So it was the first. I have big respect to people who get injured over the years, because I was like, it's the first time I've been injured really before a race. And I'd never felt that before. And it was the one race that I've wanted to do, for a long time. I was like, I can't believe I'm injured. But what we did, in the end, it worked out well that we were both slightly injured, because we just said, we just want to finish. So we just reined it all back. We started right at the back. I just said, we'll just look at the cutoffs, make the cutoffs, and that's all we'll do. So it worked out in that sense. We made the first cutoffs possibly the kind of hardest one in it, which would make sense because they want, but it wasn't bad at all. We were going slow, and Paul's swimming was great. So the swims were eating up the water, and then we were just slowly jogging. And then Orno, but yeah, it's just like injury management, which was fine, and we could keep moving, which was so brilliant. I'd love to do it again, fitter and ready. But yeah, it was an awesome day.
I said just the last bit on kit. Before the race, I saw you look around, see people are wearing and using. One guy had a pair of looked like super duper Nike carbon running shoes on, and I thought, I just had my light trail shoes on, because I say that the runs were just all up and down cliffs and rocky. You see like a mountain goat sort of. You should be, and I would hate to see the state of this guy's super duper carbon plated shoes afterwards. So that's another thing you've got to take into consideration. You've got to try and test out stuff all the time.
Yeah, definitely. And also, as you say there, looking around at the start line, which is, I always find that quite exciting. It's quite an interesting part of the race when you stood there, especially a few years ago when lots of people wore different kinds of things and different kits. But the thing I said to when I did Engadin in Switzerland with a race partner Kate at the time, I said, don't get intimidated, because there was all these alpine fit guys with shaved legs, looking really fast. It doesn't matter, And so when you're looking around, just ignore. You've just got to do your own thing, haven't you?
Yeah, there's one guy on Sunday in a full wetsuit, and I thought, oh, these runs. There's just one. It's a long 5.5K run. It was all up and down, sort of cliff paths, and it started to get really warm. And he would have been frying in that full wetsuit on the run.
Yeah.
You got to try and get your kit right.
Yeah, for sure. Oh. Okay, there we go. Well, thank you, Michael. And
Pleasure.
yeah, I'll hopefully catch you soon. I don't know, in terms of races, I'll try and squeeze. I'm trying to squeeze them in, and like soonish. But I definitely want to do swimrun Hydra at the end of the season because.
Oh yeah, I mean, you've done it before, haven't you?
Yeah, last year. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I mean, Andy talked about it a few years ago. It's probably too far from. Not far. I mean, I can travel, but the distances of that race look quite long. But that looks a fantastic race. I believe Hydra's lovely.
Yeah. It's cool. So yeah, hopefully be there. But
okay, Mike.
There we go. Okay, thank you, Mike. Have a good bike ride.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll get changed my bike now. Yeah, the legs are still a bit shot from Sunday, but I'll give it a go.
Good man.
Okay.
There we go, Mike Lisle, super veteran, super ambassador for the sport of swimrun. Thank you, Mike, for spreading the word about this fabulous sport. Now, what else is happening? We have a workshop, a swimrun workshop, taking place on the 11th, Saturday, 11th of May, in Liverpool, in Prince's Dock, Liverpool. So check that out if you need some input, try some kit out, practice some transitions, and yeah, I'll have lots of swimrun advice, and we'll be doing quite a lot of stuff as well, with loads of gear. I've got loads of gear, loads of paddles, loads of toe float, pull buoys, loads of calf guards, different types of wetsuits. There's a few places left, so sign up if you want to take part. The season starter in the UK is the 18th of May in Liverpool, same place. The water temp last night was 16.2 in the dock, so warming up. Some news from Lisle about different start times for teams and solo participants. So I'll just read out the news. The team aspect has always been and will always be the heart and soul of swimrun. To keep the team aspect intact for the race, we will introduce separate starting times for teams and solo racers in the World Series category. This means that solo racers will start 5 minutes behind the teams if we have more than 25 solos starting. By doing this, we hope to reduce congestion on the trail and in the water. It will also get easier to measure yourself with your direct opponent. So yeah, that makes sense. I like that. It did feel a bit weird, actually. I hadn't realised till I read the news that it did feel a bit strange on the World Series event, having been used to just teams taking part pre-COVID, I guess. And then being on the start line and the solos and teams, it was a little bit, something felt different. And I've only just realised what it was, and it's this. So, yeah, thank you, Lisle, for that. I'm sure it's a bit of extra admin, faff, and organisation for you guys, but for participants, I think that's a good thing. So, yeah, I think Uto will be the first time that's in place on early June, 7th of June, is it? Or the 8th of June. So, yeah, there's still a chance I'll make that race. Just need to cross a few T's and dot a few I's, and there we go. That's it for now, and have a good, summer's definitely here in the UK, and probably, I'm sure it is across most of Europe too, and further afield. So yeah, it's swimrun time. My swimrun championships battle starts on Saturday, in fact, and I've mentioned that a few times on the show. I'm sure if you Google swimrun battle, you can check it out. The WeSwimrun team, I'll give them a shout out now. We've got Paul Skipper, David Molinario, Jan Rigby, Rhian Roxburgh, Gary Cartwright, Pete Jervis, Gorka Vasquez, and myself. We'll be uploading our training between the 11th of May and the 8th of June, I think it is. and hopefully we'll be beating all of the teams who are taking part. But if that doesn't happen, we'll just be having a lot of fun. So yeah, that's what it's all about. Happy May.